everyone. Welcome to another episode of Inspiration Talk. I'm very excited about today's episode. I have a very special guest with me today. Before you all think who is with me, let me welcome her. Hello, Nikki. How are you doing
I'm
today?
good, thank you. It's nice to meet you.
Same
Nice
here.
to be here.
Thank you so much for joining, Nikki. So, Nikki, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Okay, I'm Nikkie Jay. I am a tarot reader, and I also write. And I'm what's known as a fourth generation witch, which means that my great grandmother was a witch. That's as far back as I know. So that's as many generations as I count. And before everyone runs screaming, what that actually means is that we are healers. We are people that bring around light into the world and bring a sense of healing and peace and tranquility to the world. At least that's what my family does anyway.
Okay, that's great to know. So, Nikki, can you tell me about COVID? What do you think about COVID-19? Like, it's more than a year and it's still there. So, what do you think are the pros and cons of COVID-19?
Well, I think it has been a very trying time for everybody. And, you know, anyone that's lost anyone or suffered from it, I feel so deeply for them. It must be just awful. It was terrible in each lockdown because I couldn't go and see my father. He lives on the opposite side of the country to me. So I missed him immensely during those periods. So I can fully appreciate those people that have not been able to see relatives or not, relatives that live either in other countries as well. It must be horrendous. But here's the thing, and I might get a few people going, what? At this? Here's the thing I think about it. I think because I am, part of my spirituality is I'm very connected to the earth. I'm very connected to nature. And part of my thing with this is I think we've finally given Mother Earth a break, and she needed one. We've been assaulting this planet for so many years with pollution and, taking from the soil and taking from the oceans and things that have gone into the oceans because of all this pollution that is around, the big holes in the ozone layer and everything like that. And look at what happened when places got shut down. We suddenly started getting patches of clear air. Dolphins and fish returned to Venice, that haven't been there for years and years. A big hole in the ozone closed up. And in China, they were saying that they had birds in the sky that they hadn't seen for years. They heard the sound of birds and they didn't know what it was because they hadn't seen it. There's a whole generation of people that had never seen and heard birds flying around in the sky. And I just think, isn't that just a little indication as to why we needed something this big and this dramatic to make us all stop and take a step back and say, okay, how can we fix the damage we're doing to this planet?
Right, there is a lot of damage happening. So Nikki, can you tell what do you do most of the time? Like, what are your routines?
What are my routines?
Yeah.
Well, I do daily meditation when I get up in the morning. I do a little energy tapping routine, and I journal and write down things that I'm grateful for on a daily basis. Sometimes I'll do that in the morning. Sometimes I'll do that in the evening. Depends how I'm feeling. And then I start my day, and it's usually turn my camera on and start filming for YouTube. I'm also a copywriter. So I do my copywriting on a daily basis as well. Well, actually, I don't do it on a daily basis anymore. I now do it just on a Monday because I dedicate one day to the job, and then the next like the rest of the week I dedicate to my channel and to my tarot business and to my writing and that kind of stuff. So that's my usual sort of routine. So I have obviously if work comes in, I have to do it, but but otherwise I just try and get as much done for the channel as I possibly can.
That's great to know. Okay, so now let's revive some childhood memories. So when you were little, what did you want to be?
Well, I wanted to be someone who made a difference in the world. I grew up with, I went to a church school when I was little, in primary school, which is our first schools. And we had a vicar who used to come in and tell us stories from the Bible, and he would tell us stories about Mother Teresa and things like that. And I always thought, you know, it would be great to be somebody like her who went out and dedicated their life to helping others. Of course, I got older, got married, had children. That didn't happen, but I still have that desire to help, that desire to lift people up and to make the world a better place. And the other thing I also wanted to do was be a vet because I love animals so much and I'm connected to animals so much. But I had an issue with being a vet in that I couldn't stand the idea of having to put any animal to sleep. And it completely was like, I can't do that. I just cannot do that. You know, I know that they're at that point in their life where they're suffering and, you know, it's the kind thing to do, but I actually couldn't envisage myself putting an animal to sleep. So that was what stopped me from pursuing becoming a vet.
So Nikki, what was your best childhood memory?
Now that's a difficult one.
Okay.
This is going to be one memory that stands out in my mind. Yeah. It was with my best friend Joe. Growing up in a little village, we lived in a village where you used to get fairs coming through, you know, with the fairground rides. And they would stop off in our village and put up the rides just for a day or two. And this would happen quite regularly because we were kind of the stop off point between major towns. So we'd get like part of the fair. And I remember going to the fair with my friend Jo and her oldest brother's best friend, whose nickname was Scratch. And he treated us both like little sisters, you know, and he took us to the fair and he won us prizes and, you know, and we just had the most amazing night. And unfortunately, he was killed in a motorbike accident shortly after that particular memory. And it was devastating, but it meant that memory is something that will last with me forever because it was such a special night. And just, I felt so happy and so free. And, you know, I was just being a kid, just enjoying life as kids should.
Yeah, that's right. So when you were a kid, what was your favorite game to play most of the time?
We used to love hide and seek.
Oh, wow.
Hide and seek was a lot of fun. Yeah, that would be a game that my brothers and I would play, my friends and I would play, you know, my cousins. Every time any amount of children got together, we always played hide and seek.
Oh, wow. That's actually fun to play even. Everyone enjoys to play hide and seek.
And it's amazing how many different places you can find within your own home to squirrel yourself away when you're small.
That's right. Okay, so as you're a writer, so what sort of writings do you write? And do you enjoy writing?
I love writing. I write. I've written a book. It's a fantasy fiction book aimed at the young adult. genre. So sort of, I would say the Harry Potter age group. That's the one that everybody knows, you know. Yeah. So I could say Harry Potter age group, you know. Okay. So I love writing about fantasy and magic and myth and all of that stuff. But I'm also writing my own oracle deck, because I want to create a set of cards with lots of positive messages on, and you know, that sort of thing. So I started writing that. But for a living, what I do is I write about very dull stuff. You know, I write about business, and that's not very interesting. So that side of it, no, I don't enjoy that, not at all. And it does feel like it kills my creativity, because when you're writing all day long, the last thing you want to do is then start writing in the evening. You know, I'm sure, you know, students will know, when you're reading and studying and writing essays, the last thing you want to do then when you settle down for the evening is start writing something else out. You know, it's just one of those things. But hopefully, you know, one day I will be earning enough to not have to do the copywriting side of things.
That's right. I totally agree with you. And now it's time to let's inspire and imagine. So, Nikki, if you get a lottery ticket, what will you do with the money which you will get? For example, you get infinite amount of money.
Do you know, I've thought about this so many times, and there's so many things I would love to do. One thing that has always, well, there's two things. One, my daughter and I would love to set up an animal shelter for injured animals, and have a veterinary practice on site so that the animals can get treated, and anyone who is struggling for money can bring their animals to it and get their animals treated for free, so that no animal should suffer, you know. And the other thing that we would love to do, and that I would love to do, is I would love to be able to create a homeless shelter that's more than just a shelter, that's actually like a block of flats, so that people that are on the streets have an address, because without an address they can't get a job, they can't get a shower, they can't get a warm meal, just have it as like that starting place, so that people can get off the streets, they can get warm, they can have their own space, they can have their own privacy, they can have an address, so they can start to apply for jobs and do whatever, and help them to, help them with interview techniques, get them clothes that are suitable for work, and also, like with the animals, having the veterinary service in the place, I would like there to be a doctor's in the place, so that these people that have come off the street, they're probably going to have all kinds of health problems, and so they've got somewhere they can go, and also counseling, because people come off the streets with drug addictions, alcohol addictions, they've been through traumas, so having some sort of counseling service there on site as well would just be so beneficial, I think. So if I had an infinite amount of money, that's what I would do. I would set up one for stranded animals and one for abandoned people. So
that's great, actually. And I really hope that you get infinite amount of money, you win a lottery ticket, and you do all these things with that money which you get. Okay, so Nikki, if you had a time machine, what would you like to prefer, to go in your past or in your future?
Well, I think I would probably go into my future, although it would be a bit scary. The reason being, I never really look back at my past very much. Although having said that, I'm changing my answer. I would go back to my past and see my grandpa. That's what I would do. Okay, because I missed him daily, and I didn't get to say goodbye. He died before I got a chance to see him again, and I miss him so much. And he was my whole world. I was his princess, and he was my king. So.
Oh, okay. So if you could live anywhere for one whole year, what country will you choose?
I think I would like to live somewhere that is more remote, somewhere where the Western world has not invaded, if you like, so that I can be amongst people who have their values still intact, because they haven't been bombarded with advertising and social media and things like that, So just somewhere where I feel like I could learn how to be happy with who I am and what I have. Because I think we live in a world now where it's never enough, is it? You always want more. You always want something. And to go to a country where they are happy and they're not persuaded by big advertising, that they need this and they need that, and they're not so disposable, to sort of learn the basics again, I suppose, of life, the importance of life,
That's right. So if you had a chance to learn languages, what languages would you like to learn?
So many languages.
Oh, wow.
I have a list that's so long. But top of the list, I won't bore you with the whole list, but top of the list is Italian and Spanish, are two languages I would love to learn. And also I would like to learn maybe Mandarin or some kind of some more Eastern language, because obviously I've just picked two European languages, so it would be nice to learn another language besides. Now I can pick up languages quite quickly, but I also forget them very quickly. If I'm using them. But I love hearing different languages. I love, I could sit in amongst people of any language and just sit there and listen to them, and just, it's like music to my ears, because it's just so wonderful to hear the people when they're talking, and you don't understand, but you see their hand expressions and their facial expressions, and you're sort of trying to work out what it is they're saying. I love it. I just think it's great.
So who inspires you the most in your life?
I would say, do you mean famous person or person of my own? Anyone. Yeah. I would say that my grampy did inspire me massively, because he was just such a gentle soul, and he was always so kind and always so full of laughter, and I loved that. He had this way of making everyone feel like you had a warm hug when you saw him. When you were in his presence, it felt like you were inside a warm hug, and I loved that. And people like that, I always find inspirational. Like there's, the country singer Dolly Parton. I absolutely adore her, and she's inspired me throughout my life since being a small child, because she's just this ball of sunshine. She's got no pretenses about her. Yes, she's got the false nails and the fake hair and she's had plastic surgery and stuff, but on the inside where it counts, she is so real and so down to earth. And I heard stories, I've heard her interviewed, and I've heard people interviewed about her, about saying that, whenever she's on set doing a movie, she always learns everybody's name, from the person who serves coffee to the director and all points between, she's the runners, everybody. And she would sit there and make tea in the baking hot Texas sun for anyone that wanted to come around. She'd sit outside her trailer playing her guitar for everyone, because she knew that people were suffering because it was so hot, and and it's just that kind of kindness is inspirational to me. That kind of wanting to uplift people and wanting to just make people smile and feel safe. It's it's truly inspiring.
That's great. So, Nikki, what do you do when you're angry?
Oh, when I'm angry, I go silent.
That's a great step. I believe that's the best step ever.
Yeah, I mean, as with any human being, I'm sure if I'm cross and I get, and I snap about something petty, then I may say a curse word, but if I'm truly angry, I go silent.
That's better step. But but many people don't stay silent. They would reply back.
And I think, anyone can get drawn into that. It's very, very easy, especially in social media world, to get drawn into arguing and what have you. And I'm not saying I'm a saint and I never do that, because I do, I get angry just like anybody else. And sometimes I will react. But I've come to the realization that it's not worth it in an awful lot of cases. So if somebody is cruel or unkind towards me, I find it very easy to brush off. Now, if that cruelty and that unkindness was towards my children, that would be a different story. You'd see a completely different reaction.
That's right.
But yeah, it's about being measured. And most of the time I will just say, I send you blessings and I hope that you learn and educate yourself, because it's just easier to stop it dead that way than to continue into a spiral of aggression, which I don't like. I'm not an aggressive person, so I don't like conflict and argument.
That's great. So how do you relieve stress?
I meditate and I walk. I go and walk in nature. I've got a dog, so if I'm feeling really stressed out and pent up, I'll just take her for a nice long walk. I live in beautiful countryside, so I can surround myself with trees and greenery very easily. My favorite thing to do, I unfortunately can't do because I live right smack bang in the middle of the country. So I am at the furthest point from any ocean you can be,
Yeah.
So, but my favorite thing to do is to go to the ocean. Is, the sea, I find the most calming thing, and just that water, running water is so good,
It is. It gives you peace, and it's very different. The vibes of water, it makes you feel more.
Well, there's a lot of negative ions around water, and we need the negative ions to feed our positive ions, so it's there is actually a chemical scientific reason why being around water is so good for you. But yeah, I do love it. I have a lake just 5 minutes away from me, not even 5 minutes. It takes me 2 minutes to walk to the lake. And so I do go around there on a daily basis as well, because, it's the only body of water I have nearby. It's a very small lake, but it's nice to go there. And it's just tranquil and, but yeah, getting out into nature.
So where do you see yourself in next 5 years?
I am hoping I see myself being published and having a good following on YouTube, so that I can start to produce my oracle cards and get those sold. And just in 5 years I see myself being very successful at what I'm doing now, because I haven't been doing it that long. So it would be really nice to see that progression in 5 years of just being well known in the tarot YouTube, and being successful with my writing as well, because that's my real passion. My real passion is in my words. I can't paint, I can't draw, but I always say I paint with words. That's my gift.
It was great talking with you, Nikkie Jay. I enjoyed talking with you. I hope you also enjoyed talking with me. So here's a small gesture from me to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So if you enjoyed this this talk, then don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. And also, if you are interested in listening to me on tarot readings, seeing me on YouTube, you can find me. I am on there as Pink Moon Tarot. Please do like, share, and subscribe to that channel as well.
That's right. Yeah, you will be. But I think copywriting is something very interesting, right?
It can be. It depends what you're writing about. I mean, I'm writing people's blogs and I'm writing the stuff that goes on websites. All the words you see on websites, they're written by people like me, unless they don't hire a copywriter. So it's quite sort of technical writing because it's all about, getting it seen in search engines and all of that sort of stuff. So it's not so interesting. It just depends what your topics are. And, when I'm writing about accounting, I'm not interested. But if I was writing for a spiritual group, I would be interested, So it just depends what the topics are and where your interests lay. But it's very varied.